Last week, Roy Philpot of CUTigers.com wrote an article questioning the meaning of the University of South Carolina's catchphrase, New Carolina. He stated that Carolina ended the 2007 and 2008 seasons with losing skids, and wanted to know what was different about this season. Roy didn't bother to mention that in 2007, Carolina lost half its defense to season-ending injuries. Even with these injuries, Clemson only managed a 2-point win against Carolina. Roy also failed to mention that before this season started, most football analysts projected Carolina to win only 3 to 5 games. In that light, this season should be considered a huge step forward, especially considering that 2 wins came against the number 4 team in the country and against Roy's beloved Taters. Roy wondered why Carolina fans always talk about playing in the SEC when explaining some of their losses. He obviously doesn't realize that playing Florida, Alabama, and Georgia is a little tougher than playing Duke, Virginia, and Maryland. He must think that an 8-4 season in the ACC is better than a 7-5 record in the SEC. Roy also made no mention of the fact that Clemson's record against out-of-conference opponents in the past 5 years is much worse than Carolina's out-of-conference record. Nor did Roy mention that 2 short years ago, Clemson failed to beat a Kentucky team that Carolina has defeated for 10 straight years. As for the meaning of New Carolina, Roy and the Taters found out this past Saturday. New Carolina means 34-17. So now, let's try to understand the meaning of Dabo Swinney's catchphrase, all in. If judged by last Saturday's game, the phrase obviously means that Carolina is going to bend Clemson's team over and kick them all in the ass. When I hear the phrase all in, I think of being young and getting into trouble with my friends. My mother would always ask that, if my friends all jumped off a bridge, would I jump in after them? Well, it appears that Dabo is driving the Clemson football program off a bridge, and is asking his players to all jump in after him. One may point to Clemson winning their division. But is that really an accomplishment? Do you seriously think that Carolina, Mississippi State or Arkansas would not win that division easily? Clemson won the division by default. There are no good teams to win the division. So Clemson proved that they were the best of the worst. Criticize Tommy Bowden all you want, but Tommy Bowden never lost to a team as bad as the 2009 Maryland team. And Tommy Bowden never lost to Carolina when he was favored to win. In 2001, a heavily favored Carolina team only managed to beat Clemson by a score of 20-15. In 2003, Carolina was favored to win by 1 point. But Tommy Bowden led his team to a lopsided 63-17 win. This year, Dabo Swinney brings a heavily favored Clemson team to Columbia, a team that is on a 6-game winning streak, a team that has won their division, and they get their asses stomped by the New Carolina. So is Dabo asking his team to all buy into a new level of mediocrity? Clemson is obviously so jealous of George Rogers' Heisman Trophy that they are willing to campaign for any orange-clad garbage to win the award. By most people's measure, C.J. Spiller's college career has been a bust. His 2009 rushing total is barely off of Stanford's Toby Gerhardt's rushing yards. And Toby Gerhardt is a white boy. If you get outrushed by a white boy, not only should you not win a Heisman, but you should also be ashamed to even call yourself an African American. Carolina's freshman running back, Kenny Miles, has a higher yards per carry average than Clemson's senior Heisman candidate. Perhaps Dabo is asking his players to all buy into the fact that they simply aren't as good as Carolina's players. Carolina's Stephen Garcia outpassed Clemson's Kyle Parker by over 500 yards. And Garcia's touchdown-to-interception ratio is also better than Parker's. Clemson senior receiver, Jacoby Ford, failed to put up numbers like Carolina's freshman phenom, Alshon Jeffrey. While Clemson's DeAndre McDaniel was racking up domestic violence arrests, Carolina's Eric Norwood was racking up his school's all-time sacks record and showing his teammates how to win with class and heart. Perhaps Dabo is asking his players to all buy into the fact that their chances of having successful NFL careers aren't as good as Carolina players' chances. Former Carolina greats like Sidney Rice, Travell Wharton, Jonathan Joseph, Sheldon Brown, Ryan Sakop, Cole Simpson and Dunta Robinson are all enjoying good NFL careers. Meanwhile, James Davis is the third-string running back in Cleveland. Justin Miller recently was caught by the Jets, and Tampa Bay drafted Gaines Adams in the first round only to quickly trade him when he didn't live up to expectations. This year, Carolina's all-time leading receiver, Kenny McKinley, was drafted by the Denver Broncos. In the same draft, Clemson's all-time leading receiver, Aaron Kelly, went undrafted. Maybe Dabo is asking his recruits to all buy into the fact that they want to achieve the next level at Clemson. I looked at the writing on the wall, and I think I finally figured out what Dabo Swinney means when he says, all in. He means you all in for another ass-kicking in 2010. 34-17. Pathetic, simply pathetic. This is Clemson football.